My name is Yvette Patricia Pate, and I am a person in long-term recovery from both mental health and substance abuse issues as a result of trauma that I experienced in my life. I am someone who has been very involved in the recovery process and empowering others as a result of the things that I went through in order to possibly um, help people to avoid some of my pitfalls, possibly, or at the very least be a person that they can relate to and walk with and support. I love peer support. I eat, sleep, and breathe it in all that I do. I believe in it with my whole heart. And I was just sharing with KC that when I first learned about N.A.P.S myself, I had my own personal recovery regimen, and I was kind of like, I don't know what this thing is about. I don't know if this is going to do anything for me. But over time, because I was a person who was also taught about the power and necessity of open-mindedness, I was able to embrace it, and it got me through so many things in my life. And I'll talk more about that as we go along through the process. Is anyone here today that has never heard of N.A.P or the Wellness Recovery Action Plan, which is what N.A.P stands for? Okay. Just want to get a sense of who's in the room and what your level of experience may or may not be. So we're going to go ahead and proceed forward. This will be an hour seminar. We will be able to cover certain objectives that we will review. I want to let you know that there will be a test that you would take, just a 10 questions, 10 entries where you would just kind of go through just to kind of see how much you were able to get from this webinar. And it will also come with a certificate stating that you were in attendance. And as someone who's registered, it'll be available to you in the recording to review as well, okay? And I also want you guys to stay tuned for the fact that this is really our first Lunch and Learn. I'm kind of setting the tone for what's to come in the months ahead. I'm gonna call them Lunch and Learns. I kind of like that. Every Tuesday, every second, third, and fourth Tuesday of the month, we'll have a series of trainings, work webinars for us to share and learn about with each other and about different topics from a number of subject matter experts that will be working with us to enhance our abilities and our knowledge and our skills. So I'm really excited about that. It's one of the things that we've been working towards for quite some time. So I'm really grateful to be here today and to be able to start this kickoff of our Lunch and Learn series. The next one, just so you'll be aware, I'm going to announce that next one will be on the 16th of July, and it will be from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And it will be harm reduction in the community presented by Jose Martinez. So we're really excited about Jose's level of experience in the harm reduction field and looking forward to celebrating that particular experience with Jose as he comes and supports us and N.A.P.S as a whole. So let's talk about the objectives. Our learning objectives for today are we're going to learn about the 5 key recovery concepts of the Wellness Recovery Action Plan, which I will refer to as N.A.P. And for some of us, it may be a kind of refresher. Others, it could be learning for the first time. We want to talk about how they can be applied to your work ethic. We want to talk about job seeking and reviewing interview techniques, some do's and don'ts. We want to consider how N.A.P can be applied to enhance job performance. We want to discuss the manner in which we can take personal responsibility, which is one of the 5 key concepts, for our own workplace wellness, despite obstacles that we may face. We all face adversities in life. We all have joys and pains that we experience just walking through daily life. So we want to be able to have something in place that assists us in maximizing our ability to get and stay well, despite whatever it might be happening in our lives at any given time. We want to assess whether or not our workplace suits our needs as professionals. Sometimes you get in a specific environment and you find that, hey, this is really not the one for me. This is not working for me. I really thought it would be a great place for me to work, but this is not just working for me. And a lot of times, as a result of that, what I've seen in my 25 plus years of doing this work, some people leave the field and they leave a major void just because maybe they didn't land in the right environment, didn't have the right people in their lives to encourage them and mentor them along the way. So I want to help us to kind of just brainstorm and think about that. And what is our ideal workplace? Welcome to anyone who has just joined us. We went ahead and got started, but we're just here right now reviewing the objectives, and we will be able to continue moving forward. You haven't missed much if you just arrived. Janet, I did see your hand. I'm going to acknowledge that real quick if we can, keeping in mind we just have an hour. So
Yes. I just had a quick question. Are there 6 or 5 key concepts? Because I was taught 6: hope, personal responsibility, education, self-advocacy, and support. So is there 6 or is there 5 key
I
concepts?
am kind of old school trained. So
Mhm.
when I came around, it was 5. But why don't you do me a favor? Put that once we get to the key concepts, if you want to add that one in for us, I'll be happy to receive that. Okay.
Sure.
And I thank you. That's the
Thanks.
wonderful thing about not having to know it all. We can support each other and we can embrace each other and encourage ways to grow and learn. So thank you
A-
for,
And I'm learning, so I just want
and
to
I
get the
love
correct
it. I
answer.
love it. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. All right, let's move right ahead. So, RAP is, again, the Wellness Recovery Action Plan. It is a structured plan, and it's developed for you and by you. That's what I love about RAP. It's all about me taking that power for myself, about myself. And it is an amazing thing when you really come to a place of being able to embrace that you do have certain power and abilities within yourself. You have that innate sense of you can do these things, even though the world may sometimes make it seem like because of different things that you may have faced, different people with different diagnoses and things of that nature, we still have value. We still have power. And when we learn to take control of that and take responsibility for that, we can be so successful and so very able to be a vision of hope for ourselves as well as to others and share certain aspects of life to enhance the quality of our lives. RAP is a system that can be used to promote wellness in any aspect of one's life. I mean, once I embraced RAP, I did a RAP around starting a new job. I did a RAP when I decided to go back to college and get my bachelor's and then followed up with my master's. I wanted to be able to do that and stay well while I was still working, being a mother, being all the hats that I needed to wear. RAP was able to help me create things for those specific aspects of my life so that I could be as successful as possible in getting through those things. RAP helps us work through various life adversities and concerns. If I were to tell you the things that are happening in my life today, boy, you say, why is she even here? She need to be somewhere in a padded room. But guess what? I'm here because of the recovery journey. I'm here because of my work ethic and because of the fact that I have these things in place to help me know what to do to stay well and deal with the things that are happening in my life on any given day. RAP is adaptable and infinitely doable, which you probably heard in what I was just saying. RAP is an evidence-based practice in behavioral health systems, and RAP is for everyone. So we celebrate the opportunities that we have to learn and grow and come together. And this particular workshop, webinar, whatever we want to call it, is about workplace wellness, the things that we want to be able to think about, do, think about in preparing for a job, think about in getting the job and keeping the job, think about in just the aspect of maintaining life and a healthy quality of life. Because most of us wear many hats. We are, people, we're friends, we're daughters, we're all these different things and to other people in our lives. Some of us are big supporters and some of us are leaned on more heavily than others in some areas from time to time. So how do we make sure that we keep our balance and our wellness? And rap has been something that has been very helpful in my journey. So here, what I'm going to do is, I don't believe anybody can tell a story better than the woman herself. So we have about a 6-minute video that we're going to watch where Mary Ellen tells the origins of rap. Okay.
This is an article that I wrote a long time ago for the Journal of the California Alliance for the Mentally Ill, Remembering Kate, a Story of Hope. And there's my mother's picture. I came from a family where my mother was gone for 8 years when I was growing up, and because of really severe mental health issues, I felt like I was in the same trajectory as my mother, and that was of real concern to me. I had asked my doctor, how do people with these kinds of issues cope? And he said, we don't have information on that kind of thing. We have information on hospitalizations and programs and medications. We don't have that kind of information. I realized then that the doctors can't fix me. I'm going to have to fix myself. These are the original studies. And I said, I really want to do a study of how people who experience these kinds of issues cope. Oh my, look at this. What does it feel like to be depressed? What signs indicate that you are getting depressed? The people who supposedly knew more about research told me that I should be just having these, ask a question and then have the numbers and people rate things, and I just didn't even know the questions to ask. And I just knew that wouldn't work for me. I had open-ended questions like, how do you get support? What kinds of things do you do for yourself when you're starting to feel really sad all the time? I just thought that this was really powerful information, and the people said, nobody has ever asked us these questions before. Nobody has ever wanted to find this out from us. We had our first workshops at a challenging time because it was the middle of winter. And my purpose in getting together with them was to lead them through a number of strategies for dealing with their mental health issues. And so we spent 8 days doing that, 8 full days. A woman stood up and said, this is all great, this is all good information, but I've been in mental hospitals all across the country and I wouldn't have any idea how to incorporate it into my own life. And so that was really the challenge. We spoke about this challenge, and people said we need a plan. We need something that's going to allow us to organize all that we know so that we can put it to work in our lives. We finished our process, and people that we had the plan, and I took it home on that last day, pulled out a notebook, and I wrote my RAP plan. I wrote my first RAP plan, and I started using it, and I knew very soon that this was going to make a huge difference in my own life. And if it was going to make a huge difference in my own life so simply, then it's going to make a big difference in a lot of people's lives. I was asked at that time to speak at various conferences, and I went to a conference and I walked the audience through RAP, and they sat there spellbound, and at the end came up to me and said, nobody ever told us before anything that we could do to help ourselves. And that was the beginning, really, of me becoming aware that I needed to spread this, that I needed to share this on a broad basis. And that's when I began to think about writing the book. The key thing in all of my writing is to make it really readable and usable. We're using language that's easily understood and that it's very easy to follow. The main reason that rap has been so powerful and successful is because it was developed by people who actually experience mental health issues. Everything is ours that's in it, and we can adjust it in any way that we find works better for us, and it's a very different approach. And as I look through these pictures and I see so many people who have been part of the movement to make that happen, and I need to think about how far we've come along, how much better off we are now than we were back then. Back in the late 1980s, when they told me that there was no hope for me, I said, wait a minute, my mother got out of that place. She went on and had a rich and successful life. That gave me the inspiration to say, if my mother could do it, and I could do it.
So again, just a little refresher in her own words about RAP, or the Wellness Recovery Action Plan that Mary Ellen Copeland is credited for creating with a group of supporters. Very, very impressed by the journey of not just Mary Ellen, but her mother, and how she was able to observe her mother and reflect back when she was in her own, going through her own journey and her own journey towards recovery and discovery, and find something that of value that gave her hope and inspiration that, you know, if my mom came through this, I can get through this. So I was very, very pleased once I got to know the story of Kate and understanding that this was something that was really important. So Janet, thank you for your chiming in on the text, because I was kind of feeling like, oh my God, how could I not? But there are 5 key recovery concepts, and these are the concepts. We always used to create I've been certified as a RAP facilitator since the early 2000s, and we created a little mnemonic for this. We would say H-PRESS to help us remember: hope, personal responsibility, education, self-advocacy, and support is the foundation of what RAP is built upon, with those key concepts. And for me personally, the 2 biggest ones for me were personal responsibility and self-advocacy, because I had to find my voice. I did not always have a voice that I felt comfortable with using and expressing my needs or the things that I wanted. And as I got oriented to being a bit more able to voice myself and stop blaming everyone else for the things that were happening in my life, in my workplace, and whatever situation I was in, it was always someone else's fault. And I had to learn to take personal responsibility and look at the part that I played. So let's look at how do the 5 key recovery concepts, how can we apply them in a sense of the workplace? So what gives you hope in a workplace? I want you guys to just think about these things. If we have time at the end, we can come back to them and chime in about it. But what gives you hope in the workplace? How do you take personal responsibility for your own wellness? It is not your employer's responsibility to take care of your wellness. It'd be nice if you're in an environment that encourages it, encourages you to take time when you need it, knows you well enough to see, well, hey, you're not quite yourself today. Is there anything I can do to support you? You know, is there anything that you need for you to get through this workday that we can offer to you within reason, of course? What educational opportunities are available? At my former job, I was very much a big advocate for tuition reimbursement. We didn't have it for many, many years. And I felt that it was really important. What we brought to the table based on our recovery was amazing, and it was the thing that made us so valuable. but why wouldn't someone want to enhance that, the quality of what they brought to the table by learning more and being educated in ways that could really offer something even more, not just to those we were serving, because they were the most important people, but also to the organizations that we were in, that I was in at the time. And the funny thing, story about that is, by the time I got to my last master's class, guess what they did? They established loan forgiveness. I was able to get that one loan forgiveness payment. But what I believe is, we as advocates, I think as peer providers, whether you be a New York peer specialist, a family peer advocate, a youth peer advocate, we as peer providers, one of our greatest gifts is our ability to advocate for ourselves and for others. So sometimes what we do may not immediately give us what we were looking for, but the people that we can help coming in the door behind us and leading the way can oftentimes be a beautiful thing. So I believe in that with my whole heart. And I want you guys to think about, how do you practice self-advocacy while meeting the goals of your agency? How do you say the things that you need to say, express yourself, and not hold things in ways that end up being unhealthy for you? How do you learn how, something we just learned in our mentorship course was learning when and how to say no, if that is something that is required, knowing the policies and things of that nature. How does your team encourage the value of peer and natural supports, not just for yourself, but also for those we serve? We want to think about those things as it relates to workplace wellness. I want to say that while I'm in this mode, I do not see you all. So if someone needs to chime in, has a burning desire to say something, I want you to think about whether you want to save it to the end, or can it wait to the end, or do you need to jump in immediately? So I just want us to take personal responsibility in that regard. All right. So here we go. So let me make sure I didn't. Okay. Next slide. I'm just gonna give you an overview of the parts of the Wellness Recovery Action Plan. And I want you to think about how these things can be tailored for you as it relates to workplace. And as I said earlier, there are other aspects of life. When I got married, boy, did I need a wrap, because I needed to learn how to live and coexist with this person that I love. But now when we're in close proximity, hey, what are we going to do? So in order to keep my relationship healthy, I had to do a wrap. I do a wrap for lots of aspects of my life. But today we're here to talk about workplace wellness, so I'll stay focused on that. So there's your wellness toolbox. There's your daily maintenance plan. There's identifying triggers and the action plan. There's identifying early warning signs and the action plan. There are, when things are breaking down, an action plan. There's the crisis plan and the post-crisis plan. So the thing that really, really inspired me when I began to learn about RAP is that I can identify something, and then I can come up with an action plan to ensure, to the best of my ability at the time, that I'll be able to maintain my balance, my wellness. But sometimes, despite our best efforts, I might end up in a place where I start seeing little signs. Now, this has increased my awareness in such a way that I can kind of see, like, when I'm tired or I need to take leave, planned leave. I think planned leave is so important, because if I wait until I just can't take it anymore, or I work myself to a place where I'm not able to be healthy in scheduling time off, then I'm not really working to the advantage of myself, my organization, or those I serve. And I want to bring my best self to the experience when I'm providing peer services. I want to bring my best self and the best version of myself, and understanding with RAP that it's alive and it continues to evolve and grow. And that sometimes I just might end up in a place where things are breaking down. But if I've planned it when I was well, I got an action plan to avert possibly getting into a crisis. But if I get into a crisis, I still have the power is within me, because I did this when I was well, when I first started thinking about my job and how it affects me, or how I need to maintain balance there. So, and then once you learn from a crisis, You're going to create your post. You're going to have something to refer to called your post-crisis plan. You know, but the one thing that I love is the fact that I can create my wellness toolbox. You know, my wellness toolbox and my daily maintenance plan are my go-tos. What I put in my wellness toolbox may be different than what you put in your wellness toolbox. One of the things I put in my wellness toolbox when I first started really embracing this work was making sure that I get up at a certain time and give myself grace. Give myself grace periods where once I get to work, that I'm in a space that I can be open and engaging. Yvette is not a morning person. So I wasn't born a morning person. So when it comes down to being early in the morning, if my job required me to be in at 9, I did not need to let that be an excuse. Yvette is not a morning person. I couldn't tell that to my participants that I was serving, couldn't tell that to my boss. So I had to create things that would help me to get beyond that feeling in the morning. And I was able to be successful by creating my wellness recovery action plan. So where are we? We're about halfway in, and I want to just take a quick second to see if anyone has any questions or comments at this moment before I proceed. All right, looking good. All right, so we will continue to go forward. Next slide. So I want you to think about, many of you may be working, some of you may be seeking employment. You know, whatever your situation is, I want you to just think about, if you're working, think about what are the things that are great about where you work. I mean, in our most recent networking meeting, I believe there was someone who was very excited about where they work, to the point where when somebody was looking for a resource and they know who they are, they were like, listen, you can look under this website because we got it. You know what I mean? And I love that. I absolutely love that, because what that said to me is where that person was working, they were enthused about the work. They were enthused about the environment. They were knowledgeable about what was being offered, and they wanted to promote it. When you love something, it shows. When you're in an environment that helps you to thrive and grow, and you just find your niche there, there's no stopping you. There's no stopping you, you know, and that's very much how I felt when I started doing this work. So let's talk about this even further. What is your ideal workplace? What does it look like? What's the scheduling? What's the structure? What's the flexibility? I was so grateful when I came to N.A.P.S. that they said to me, this is such a peer-oriented environment. Like, what do you want your work day to be like? I'm a 10 to 6 kind of girl. Can I do that? They were like, girl, go ahead, do what you got to do. That's when I'm at my best, 10 to 6. Now, really, it'd have been 12 to 8, but I want to have some day to myself. So, you know, it was wonderful to be at a place that says we're about peer support, and really, they are about peer support. We have unlimited personal time off. Hello? Who gives you that? They know the beauty of maintaining balance and each employee's wellness. And my thing is, many moons ago, pre-recovery, I might have taken full advantage of that. I want to work. I want to do the things that are needed to be done, because I'm in an environment that encourages and supports me in a way that I can appreciate. Think about, what's the pressure level? Some people work well under pressure. I remember in my last day courses of college, I couldn't get anything done if it wasn't due tomorrow. It was just, by the time I got to that point, it was just, I had to have that pressure. I don't like to work like that. That's not my work ethic. But some situations sometimes find you in those places. So know what the pressure level is. What is the level of autonomy? Is there anywhere where you can find private space when you need it? I often also, in jobs that I had, my previous job, I was there for 18 years. And I always had to have a confidant, that one person that knew me well enough to know when I came into their office and I just blurted out things without a filter, that it wasn't to be demeaning or derogatory towards my employer or anything or anyone. It was so that I could clear my heart, clear my mind, and go back to what I was doing and continue to love it and produce and be the best version of myself that I could be. Having that one person that we shared that type of experience together is what kept one of the things that contributed to my longevity in being able to do this work. So always having the ability to have that private space or person that you can call and go to. I often say that if it had not been for having that one person, I may not have stayed at that job, because I had a moment with who was my then supervisor where they said some things to me that did not match what the expectations were. And they said it in a very nasty tone. And, you know, I could have very well disrupted my destiny at that organization where I thrived and grew to various levels had I not responded versus reacted to them. Because a lot of times when people are reacting to you in a certain way, it really may not even be about you. So if you can separate yourself from practicing principles before personalities, is what I like to call it, then you might just find yourself in a better place and get through certain adversities that can come up in the workplace. I've known many a conflict to come up in the workplace, but what I've also known is the ability to take personal responsibility, use our voice in self-advocating, and get through those things and keep doing what we love. Many of people have left this workforce because of various reasons. I don't want that for us. I want us, if we want this and we want to keep protecting it, let us do everything we can to continue to grow and protect ourselves and to maintain our wellness in the workplace. Is your workplace, is an ideal workplace for you, open-minded and understanding of its employers? Does it give opportunity for creativity? And very importantly, for some of us, does it allow opportunities for you to grow? When I first started doing this work, I loved providing direct service so much that I couldn't see myself doing anything else. I mean, one day my supervisor came to me and she was like, actually my supervisor, she was like, have you thought about applying for the supervisor's position? I was like, what? And at the time, my boss wasn't very like encouraging, that boss, but her boss said to me, I said, well, you know, let's call her Jane. I said, well, Jane don't want any of us. She was like, excuse me, I am Jane's supervisor and I see something in you and I'm asking you. And at the time I was mother of two and I was not with my husband at the time. And I'm like, I got to take care of these boys because they eat a lot. So I'm going to try it. But when I did, I was able to use my voice and negotiate, still maintaining a caseload, because I wanted to keep my finger on the pulse of the work. I loved it so much. And I did not want to lose that peer-to-peer engagement. And I wanted to grow in the profession. And I also found out that I love mentoring and training and encouraging others to do what we do. We need more people doing what we do, so that others who are struggling or dealing with their mental health challenge or dealing with whatever adversities they may be dealing with can know that they don't have to do it alone, that there is something to help them grow beyond any situation. So moving right along to the next slide. So let's talk about ideal work settings and your dream job. What are the interests, talents, and abilities that you want to use in your career? These are things we should really think about. Because like I said, when she came to me talking about supervisor, I'm like, huh? Me? I'm not the one. You know, I didn't see that in myself, but she saw that in me. And before I left that job, I had advanced to trainer. And I'm not saying this to be boastful. I'm just saying it to acknowledge that, you know, there's no limits except the ones sometimes we put on ourselves. You know, I advanced to program manager and ultimately became a director overseeing a number of programs. But I would have never thought of that when I came in there, you know, but sometimes people can see things in us and nurture them and encourage them. And every step of the way, what did I do? I created a new workplace rep so that whatever I would face, because I had never been there before, I had never experienced some of those things before, and I wanted to bring the best version of myself to everything that I did. So every time I just adjusted my rap to suit the needs of the next level of my career at that time. And I feel that one of the reasons that I've been able to advance and be so successful, our field has the highest rate of burnout because we give so much of ourselves. We pour so much out. And if we're not protecting ourselves in a way that says, as I love this so much that I'm going to also pour back in so that when I'm pouring out, I can maintain that balance. And I can be the role model for those that I'm serving that, hey, wellness is important. And as much as I'm encouraging you, I'm also doing it for myself. So when I take a day off, I'm not going to feel bad that, you know, I had to take a day off. I might be thinking about my participants that I serve or what I left undone. I'm not going to say that because I'm just that way. But at the end of the day, I've learned the value of maintaining the balance and being able to maintain longevity through taking care of myself and maintaining wellness. So another thing about the possibility of your dream job, how does it meet your needs in terms of scheduling, tolerable stress, understanding employers and or creativity, and what challenges and successes might you face? Prepare yourself for that, because no matter where you go and no matter how much you love your job, and I know somebody's gonna be like, not where I work at, there are always gonna be things that you love, but sometimes little things come up that you like, Yvette did not sign up for this. Okay, I don't know what they're talking about, but guess what? This is not what I signed up for. But if it's like it, I always say the 80-20 rule. If it's 80% of something that I love and believe in, I can manage that 20. Because if I leave because of that 20 and I end up somewhere where I get 20% of great and no, 20% of great and 80% of crap, then I left something amazing because I didn't see myself coming. I didn't see the value of maintaining an open-minded approach to what I was involved myself in. So these are things that are, again, really, really important as we consider creating for ourselves a workplace wrap and how valuable it can be for us. So once again, I'm just gonna ask if anybody has any thoughts or questions, or if you think better, we can continue and save a few minutes at the end. That would be preferable, but I never want to take for granted. And I always want to acknowledge people in a respectful way. So with that said, I'm going to move forward. Next slide. All right, so let's talk about some interviews, do's and don'ts. What you don't want to do, if somebody is looking for a job or in a job, but they're thinking about leaving, what you don't want to do is arrive unprepared. You never want to show a lack of knowledge. It's always a great idea to do your research about the company. It makes people feel like you cared enough. Hey, what do you know about our company? You're not going to catch me off guard when you ask me that question. I'm going to know something. And I wouldn't want to be there if I didn't do my research anyway, because my rap taught me that I need to have a clue about the environment that I'm getting into. Don't discuss politics or religion or personal relationship issues when you're in an interview. Don't bring up salary on the first interview. Now, this is something that some people say, hey, I want to know, I don't want to waste my time. But for me personally, I'm kind of old school. So I don't necessarily talk about salary initially, because for real, salary is important. Don't get me wrong. It is of the utmost importance, because I need to know if this is going to suit my needs and I'm going to be able to sustain myself and my responsibilities. But if I seem like that's all I'm about, then am I really about their mission and their vision? You know what I mean? I don't ask questions like, what are my chances? You can feel how you're doing in the interview most times. You can feel and you can see the people's face and how they're reacting to you. Today's climate, we're doing, many people are doing virtual interviews. I had my very first virtual interview when I got hired with N.A.P.S. I had never experienced that before. Never in my life. But I was impressed with the way that you can still come across as your genuine self and get a sense of feel about how people are responding to you. And you can decide whether you want to look at them directly or not by your screen, how you set your screen, because sometimes if I'm looking at people and I get a bad face, it kind of throws me. So I can keep my composure by just staying focused. Don't eat, drink, or chew gum in the interview. And for goodness sake, stay off your phone. We are also very oriented to using our phones, but in an interview, you want to be mindful that that does not show a level of interest and respect for the moment that you want to, if you want that particular job. So let's talk about some things we should do. We want to arrive early. We want to dress professionally and or according to policy. We want to give a firm handshake and maintain eye contact. We want to portray a positive image. We want to put our best self forward. We want to use appropriate language, both verbal and nonverbal. My body language speaks volumes. Have our resume, transcripts, and other documents handy and ready to give out if needed, even though they may have pulled it from the portal that they found us on. You want to still have that. It shows that you're willing to go the extra mile and you're thoughtful about how you move and proceed. You want to answer the questions to the best of your ability. You want to talk about you, not others, and avoid we statements and summarize. You want to understand that the next steps in the process. And it's okay to ask, okay, so what might be the next step as you're interviewing and planning to hire? Do you have a date possibly that you might be making this decision? I'm very eager to learn if I get the position. And just having a sense of when you're going to be making that decision can be so very helpful. You want to relax and just be yourself. You know, a lot of times that's easier said than done. But as peers, we bring something valuable to the table. And what I want us to do is always own it. Anything that you put your mind to or anything that you are meant to do is always going to be shining out when you're in the presence of someone who is asking you about the value of what you bring to that experience. It's going to radiate, because I don't know about you guys, but I love what I do. And when I'm talking about it or when I'm interviewing about it, it rings through, and it rings through in a genuine way. We all know that there are times when we get to interviews and we learn things about the job once we get in the job that we could not have possibly imagined. And they probably learned some things about us that they were like, hey, she did really great on that interview, but woo, every now and again, I don't know, I might have to give her a little more training here or there. But being open and knowing that if you can relax and be yourself, then you're going to bring the best version of yourself to the table every day when you get to work. And we're going to go ahead and move on to the next slide, I think. Oops. My little thing is getting in the way here. Okay. So, wellness tools for the interview. If you are still seeking, you're in a job that you love, but you need more money or you need another job to complement your income, these things do happen. Then let's talk about what tools we can do in preparing for the interview. You want to prepare. Make sure you've done some research on the company. We talked about that. They can be very impressed by that. You want to practice. Practice sometimes answering interview questions and practice your responses. Now, for me personally, that's not my best approach. I do better when I come from the heart and am genuine. If I practice that too much, then I don't feel as authentic. So that's just for me. You got to know you. I like to come with my authentic self and let that radiate through. You want to get ready. Make sure your interview attire is neat, tidy, and appropriate. You want to bring a nice portfolio, as we mentioned earlier, copies of the resume. Have your own pen and paper for note taking. Be on time. On time, in my opinion, is late. Be a little early, because things can happen. Traffic can get bad. The bus might get broke down. Always give yourself time. And I would also say practice the trip a day or two before. I had a dear friend that once I got the job, the first job in really doing this work, I wanted to share it with her. I'm like, you're going to be great at this. And I gave her some suggestions about what bus to catch and what not to catch, because I had been going there for a while now. Well, needless to say that they did not listen, and they ended up being late for the interview. And my boss at the time was not, I told y'all she had some choice words when I first met her, and I could have not been there. But the reality was I tried to give her, my friend, the best opportunity to be successful, and she ended up being late. And as a result, she didn't get hired. But I also know that what's meant for you is meant for you. And maybe that just wasn't meant for her. So, but when I believe in something or like something, I want everybody to experience it. So that's just the type of person I am. But you want to just take time to drive or travel to the office so you know exactly where you're going and how long it'll take. You want to try to stay calm and centered. When I used to do interviews early on, I would just kind of not fully sit on my hands, but just kind of have my hands down on the side and kind of keep them down. I'm a hand talker. I'm always talking with my hands, and I didn't want that to be a distraction. So I had to do something to maintain that. Always try to stay calm, relax, and maintain eye contact with your interviewer. Listen to the entire question before you answer and pay attention. You'll be embarrassed if you forget the question, but also it shows that you have active listening skills. As peer providers, I think that's another very important skill that we bring to the table. Our ability to listen and listen with intention and actively. And when we don't know or understand, to be able to reflect back so that we can make sure that we clearly have received the message in a way that can allow us to proceed to the next step of the question. We also want to follow up. Always follow up with a thank you note or reiterating your personal interest in the position. If you're interviewing with multiple people, send a thank you note. So we got about 9 minutes. Where does the time go? I have no idea. So these are just some wellness tools for work. We want to be prepared. We want to be intentional. We want to be on time. We want to be focused. When you're going to work, you want to be focused. What I used to always say, if I got stuff going on, I need to leave it at the door. When I hit the door for work, I need to focus on that. And it's a nice diversion sometimes. You want to be mindful. This is so important. Please know your company's policy. Don't get a policy and procedure manual and toss it over there in the corner and never look at it and let it be like the bookend or collecting dust. It is so important. You can't say, I didn't know, when they're looking at job improvement, or you might be looking at some type of, corrective action. You want to know. And you don't, one thing I got to say, guys, in regards to us as peer providers, no matter what title you carry, what certification you hold, one thing that I found really challenging early on, when I started doing this work, it wasn't even officially a certification. And some of my peers at the time were sometimes wanting to use who we are as an excuse. And that bothered me personally, because we were trying to express to those who were willing to hire us in their organizations that we are professionals. And if we're professionals, we're going to conduct ourselves just like the other professionals that we stand beside shoulder to shoulder with are expected to do. I can't say, oh, my boss know the requirements for me having this job as a peer specialist or peer advocate or family advocate, so I don't have to call out or I don't have to give advance notice. No, we need to be professional. We are setting the tone, not just for ourselves, but for those who are coming in the doors and doing this work after us. We don't want to be special workers. We want to be received and honored for the professionalism that we bring to the table, for our lived experience that has become lived expertise. And we want to be able to hold our heads high and not use any excuse when things don't go our way. Taking personal responsibility. If I don't take personal responsibility, then I'm not doing this field or anyone that stands on my shoulders justice. So that's just my little pet peeve on that. Always be mindful. Know that if I'm going to be 5 minutes late, I'm calling my boss. I'm going to be late. The bus was running late or whatever. I don't take it for granted. And I don't show a pattern of doing things that are not conducive to wanting to keep the job, and it's always be free. Just be free to be yourself. Allow yourself to be off and enjoy life. And I said after 5 p.m., but whatever your hours are, be free to be able to replenish yourself. Tomorrow will take care of yourself. And if you obsess over those you support or you work with, then are you fully embracing the concept of a well-balanced life? And do you really believe in their ability to grow beyond? Because I feel like as a peer provider, if I'm doing my job well, especially when providing direct service, I'm supposed to be working myself out of a job where there's going to be a point where you no longer need me because you have walked with me in a way that has helped you to grow and develop and have your own supports and things in place in your life's journey. So if you find yourself working harder for those you serve than they're willing to work for themselves, that is a disservice rather to you as well as to them. That means you say you believe in their ability to recovery, but on some innate deep level, you don't really believe in it because you think that they have to have you in order to survive or in order to thrive. And that is not true. All right. So, oh, that was great. So here we are with about 5 minutes to spare. And I want everybody to unmute. And if anybody has any questions or comments, I haven't been able to keep up with the chat. So I will go ahead and stop sharing and take a look and see if there were any questions in the chat. But I would really encourage anyone here to feel free to go ahead and chime in. And don't forget that you will be taking a brief, very short, I think about 10-question test so that you can get your certificate. All that stuff is handled by the web manager. I'm not the person for the web stuff, but hopefully there will be a smooth opportunity for you to be able to follow through with the next step. Maybe even a survey, I'm not sure. But again, does anyone have any questions or concerns, comments? Come on, Annie.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
Can you hear me?
afternoon.
Okay.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. I just wanted to say where I work at, I love where I work at. I
Oh,
work at the Mental Health Peer Connection, and I am a woman who have mental health and physical disabilities. They are not always apparent, but I tell people disability has no look.
absolutely.
I have to explain that to people, especially when I park in a handicapped parking spot. I have good days, bad days. There's days where I can't walk. Sometimes I'm in a wheelchair. You know,
Yes.
when you got autoimmune disease,
Yeah.
it's a touch and go.
Mhm.
One thing I love about my job is my directors are open-minded. We utilize the EAP here. I want everyone to remember, stick to counseling, even when you work, try to go in the evenings, you know, utilize that time. It's important. We got to be so cautious of work burnout.
Yes.
I'm an empath,
Wow.
and me hearing all of these stories and everything that I go through with my consumers, I feel that.
Mhm.
And so it's
Right.
important for us to unload that and compartmentalize. When I clock out at 5 o'clock, I'm not thinking about work no more.
Good for you.
You know, I got
Good
you
for
put that
you.
little plant or the
Yeah.
little tree by your door. That's your worry tree. You
Yeah.
leave it there and you
Wonderful.
go in and you enjoy your family life. That's so,
I
so
love it.
important. When your jobs are doing strategic plans, you as an employee, you have the right to let them know what you feel is missing within your workforce, within your program and agency, wherever you work at. You are you know, you may think that you're just a little person, but no, you are an advocate. You are
Mhm.
a peer and we are
You add
advocate.
value.
And we can't go around advocating for other people if we don't learn how to advocate for ourselves.
Very good. Well said. Thank you. I
You're
love
welcome.
it. Thank you so much. Come on, Janet. We got about 2 minutes. Uh-oh, I can't hear you for some strange reason.
How about now?
There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Loud and clear.
Religiously, I try to practice a self-care assessment worksheet every day. I
Good.
walk around with that
Look at
because
you. All
it
right.
helps. And I walk around with my wellness recovery action plan,
Oh,
maintenance, daily maintenance. Because if I
wonderful.
don't,
Yes. Good stuff.
mm-mm,
Good
good
stuff.
stuff.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Anyone else as we approach the last minute? All right. I want to once again. Oh, come on, Ginger.
Hi.
Hi.
I've this has been fantastic. This is my first time coming to this meeting,
Thank you.
and I'm wondering about the RAP plan. What is it? How do I get that worksheet or whatever it is?
So what I'm gonna go to Janet for the worksheet. Janet is my go-to. Okay, she got the resources of life. So can we connect you with Janet? I don't have the actual worksheet in my possession. It would probably take me weeks to dig it out of my archives. However, I'm a firm believer in being open to the support that's in the room. So Janet looks like she's putting something in the chat for you. Casey, if you can put N.A.P.S in the chat. Also, Ginger, send me an email at N.A.P.S and I will have some conversation with you about next step as well.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
awesome. Thank you so much, everyone.